Feel like I'm right in the middle of everything, so. Some days good, some days you sure are. or if not, well, then I have to ask you. I will be at the meeting as soon as I can. But, and Becky said she was. I was trying to get everything sorted out, and then that way it's not too much. Are you guys only there till 9? No,
we have till 10.
Till 10, okay. Clint kept saying 9, and I'm like, oh man, if it's 9, I don't know that we.
We have to meet at the convention center before
Yeah.
10. That would be nice.
No, what we can always do if we need to is forward the action items, and then do the presentations and all the other stuff, so that way we can get. So we can amend the agenda and. So, this is fun.
The first time all these years.
Morning, guys. Yeah, it's conscious.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for being so excited.
I think we're ready.
I'm like, I'm sitting on top of it. This is good. Hopefully others, I think, I'm sure April will be here.
What the heck?
Here we are. Good morning, Lynn. How are you? Good. Good.
Good morning. It's 9:07 a.m. on Tuesday, January 25th, 2022. This morning, our invocation will be given by Pastor Jeff Lewis of OMG Community Church. Morning, Pastor Lewis.
Good morning, good morning. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Chairman Sanchez, appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Lewis, and I am the pastor for OMG Community Church here in Las Cruces, a small, sort of starting out house church, and we're now moving into hopefully a larger facility fairly soon because we're growing. And I'm here today because I was getting ready to pay my business taxes and thought I'd do the invocation while I was here. So anyway, here we go. Again, just want to say thank you for allowing me to give the invocation this morning. Some of you may or may not know, I moved here to Las Cruces about 2.5 years ago. My wife and I decided to relocate, and that's a suggestion of my parents. And I'm so thankful and blessed that we did. I'm also very thankful that my father decided to join me today for the invocation, Ambassador Delano Lewis, who's sitting over there, and to say thank you to him and for all the inspiration he's given us. This past Sunday, I was working on a sermon that I gave that I was also trying to figure out how I can see what it might dovetail to today's invocation. And I thought it did. And so one of the passages that we read during the service, which I think is apropos for today, I'd like to read very quickly. It's from Philippians chapter 4, verse 6, and it reads like this. Don't be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ. And the reason why I thought this verse was so important is that everybody in this room was blessed by God with great talents. And sometimes those talents need to be sort of figured out and asked by God. When you're making those important decisions, I would just sort of ask the commissioners and everybody here to maybe take a pause and a beat and just to talk to God for a few minutes and ask him and give him your challenges, give him all of your anxiety and your pressures to him, and let him come up with the answer. What we found out, which is very tough for me, is that, I said, I have to give all of my challenges to God. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not me. In my human nature, I don't do that. I'm a problem solver. I don't do this. But I've had to understand and learn. And I've actually had to let go and let God. So what I'd like to do is to start by my invocation by saying if we could all just sort of bring God into our presence, have him sit beside us or stand beside us, and say and pray with me in this prayer. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for bringing us all together this morning. Heavenly Father, we ask that you shine great light and blessings over the members of this county commission and bless them with wisdom, knowledge to manage this county. Bless them with the courage to make the right decisions for the county, knowing that you are there right by their side. Heavenly Father, we ask that you keep everybody in this room safe and healthy. We ask that you bless their families, because we know, Lord, that a strong family support network is the key to our success. Heavenly Father, we ask that you give everyone here guidance, love, support for all difficult challenges they may face in their jobs. We ask that you continue to bless everyone living in Las Cruces, living in Dona County, and this great state of New Mexico. Heavenly Father, please continue to bless everyone here this morning. Watch over them and keep them safe. We ask all of this in your great glory, in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Chairman.
Pastor Lewis.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank Pastor Lewis not only for the invocation, but for paying his property taxes, because that truly is heavenly sent. So thank him.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. If y'all would rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Brandy, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Ellens. Here. Commissioner Reynolds.
Is absent.
Commissioner Chaparral.
Present.
Vice Chair Murillo.
Present.
Chair Sanchez.
Present. The commission convenes as the Board of County Commissioners and the County Board of Finance in open session. Mr. Macias, are there any changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, there are no changes to the agenda.
Very good. Then we'll move on to Pet Showcase.
Thank you. Again, for the information of those that are here in the audience and those that may be viewing the proceedings, the County Commission takes an opportunity at each one of its meetings to encourage the adoption of animals from the Animal Services Center. And so we normally display both our cat and dog of the week. I'll start with Kaylee, who is the cat of the week, 2 years old, a domestic short hair, female. I was dropped off at the shelter with my babies months ago. Now they're all gone to their new homes. I'm ready and waiting for a forever family of my own. I am sweet and mellow, a perfect lap cat, companion for those who opt for a calmer buddy. Our dog of the week is Nala. Who is 10 months old, a medium-sized animal, and again, a female. I am one typically playful puppy. I love playing around with both humans and dogs alike. I'm also super excited to go on walks. I have so much fun every time I get to go on an adventure. I am patiently waiting for my perfect adventure buddy that will play with me and love me forever. That's something I think we all want. There's some events, Farmers Market this coming Saturday from 9 to 12. Give people an opportunity to adopt either of these two animals or perhaps another one that they may be interested in. Again, we encourage the adoption of animals from our Animal Services Center. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. Okay, we'll move on to public input. If there's ever other members of the public that are here to provide input, we ask that you can come up now. If it is for an agenda item, we ask that you wait till the agenda item is under discussion. Are you here just for public input or for an agenda item? Okay, please.
Just public input.
Very good. We'll have you 3 minutes, and if you wouldn't mind stating your name for the record, and when you're,
Take off my mask?
when you start, and then when you're done, sign the book to the left.
Take my mask or leave it?
Yes, please, off, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Alex. Good morning to everybody. The reason I'm here is just for a couple of things that I want to bring up to you guys' attention, okay? Again, I do work for the detention center. I'm a sergeant there as well. I'm also the union president as well, okay? Things that I will brought up is the fact that we're still shorthanded, okay? We haven't been able to, I guess, hire anybody at this point or move on with the process for officers. And then another thing that I want to bring up is that we've had a couple of officers that applied for sergeant positions a couple of years ago, and it was halted, it was stopped. They all passed the test, they all passed the interview, and all of a sudden, nothing's been done for the past 3 years, more or less 3 years. Now there's 13 spots open, and nothing's been done. They are currently opening another 5 spots for lieutenants, which is kind of like a slap in the face to the officers and sergeants that positions still filled and vacant. So I'm asking just help to see what we can do, get this process going. I mean, it's been going on for a couple of years and nothing's been done. I don't know what the issue is as far as the process is going, the testing is going, failing the test or look into the test. I don't know what the issue is. We don't get no answers. So I'm asking to see what you guys can look into it as far as that goes. Another thing that I want to bring up is the fact that lieutenants are actually working overtime now. They're getting a stipend of $525 a day for the time they go into overtime. That's a slap in the face to everybody that works there as far as officers and supervisors. And they expect for morale not to be down. As soon as they found out, everybody said everything about it. This is the morale that everybody's going down. It's like, well, why are we even working anymore? Because they're getting paid more than we are. And don't get me wrong, some of them do work, some do help out, but I can't say the same thing for everybody. And, honestly, that's going to be, the morale is even worse now than it was before we were shorthanded. So I'm asking to see what you guys can look into as far as that goes, because that's unacceptable. It's a slap in the face on a daily basis. I mean, I've worked there for 10 years and hasn't been this bad, hasn't been that good either, but I love what I do. I want to be there to help no matter what. I will always be there no matter what. Front lines, COVID, non-COVID, I'll always be there. They need me, I'll go in. My day off, I'll go in. They call me, I'll go in. So I just need you guys to actually pay attention to what is being said. That's it.
Thank you. Are there other members of the public here for public input? Okay, we'll move on to staff input. Mr. Macias, is there any staff input?
No, Mr. Chairman, not at this time.
Okay, we're on to county elected officials input. Okay, not seeing any of the other county elected officials. So we're on to commission input. Are there any members of the commission that have any input at this time? I did just have a couple of questions, Mr. Macias. One, and we don't have to have an answer right now, but the online billing for utilities, I know that was an ongoing process, and I've been getting a couple of
emails from the public indicating that that has not been completed as of yet. So if there's any way we can follow up on that online billing system for the utilities, that would be one thing. The other, and this one's just, this is just something I would love to see. I know we just received our W-2 statements, and I think all the employees have just recently received their W-2 statements. Is there a way, I know we can go online and see pay stubs online, but is there any way to make this an electronic form? Because I know with our system, I guess with a lot of the online tax systems and things like that, if there might not be a need to actually print things out every year, if we have it online and employees can opt in for electronic pay stubs or W-2 notifications. I'd love to see if there's a way that our IT staff and maybe finance and payroll department might be able to do something of that nature so that it's easier, less work with having to print and distribute to all the employees through the county.
Mr. Chairman, just on the 2 points, if that completes your questions. One is that we had transferred all of the billing responsibilities to the main water company in the southern part of the county. So the billing is through that operation, and I'm not sure if that is one of the reasons why people technically aren't being able to pay online. I am meeting with utility staff this afternoon. That's one of the issues that I'll certainly discuss with them in terms of those opportunities. It would help me, though, that if you did get inquiries, what part of the county those inquiries came from, if you can just send me just a short or a brief email, that way I can have something more precise to look at.
Absolutely. I think the ones that I've been receiving were for the northern part of the county and Rincon. And
okay. So then the pay stubs, I certainly will talk to our finance department to see, what are the options. I believe that all of them were sent out to all of our employees, so it may be too late to do it this year, but certainly in terms of the future to make them available online if they're not already. I'll look into that.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Macias. Okay, then we'll move on to our first agenda item, which is the meeting minutes from January 11th, 2022. If I have a motion and a second for approval, please.
I so move.
I heard Commissioner Allens moved and didn't hear a second. Or if I can, Commissioner Chaparral? Okay. Are there any comments or changes to the meeting minutes? Okay, not hearing any. Brandy, will you call the roll on agenda item number 1?
Commissioner Ellens?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro?
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo?
Yes.
Chair Sanchez?
Yes. Okay, we have those meeting minutes are approved. Okay, moving on to presentations and proclamations. The first item is to proclaim January as National Mentoring Month in Dona County. I can get a motion, a second for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Chaparro. I will,
Second.
seconded by Vice Chair Murillo. Okay. So this morning, this is, I think, one of the things that I think we're talking, mentoring and National Mentoring Month here in Dona County, and it's particularly important, I think, for our youth that we have such amazing mentoring organizations here in Dona County, because when you look at some of the indicators, it's easy to understand the influence that mentoring can have on our youth, to allow them to reach a higher level of academic achievement, to understand the possibilities of what they can achieve, and also possibly keeping them from engaging in any type of harmful behaviors. I know this is particularly important being a parent, and I see this very often within the backgrounds and the youth that we have here in Dona County, is that if they don't see what they can achieve or even have a thought of what they can possibly do, a lot of times it's not even on their radar. And I think that's where one of the youth mentoring initiatives we have within the community are so important, and in getting people to participate and engage our youth in those ways. This morning, we're joined by Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Las Cruces, Cassandra Gandara, the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Las Cruces, Ashley Echavarria, the founder of Kids Can, Program Director of Community Action Agency, April Christensen, and the Regional Director of the Mountain Region for Big Brothers Big Sisters, Beth Hoffman. I'll invite you guys to come up while Mr. Macias, I ask you to read the proclamation. So if you wouldn't mind, I'll allow Mr. Macias to read the proclamation, and then I'll give you all a few minutes to provide comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas January 2022 marks the 20th anniversary of National Mentoring Month, an annual campaign to highlight the need for youth mentors in our community to help ensure positive outcomes. And whereas Doña County honors volunteer mentors in the following programs: Kids Can, Community Action Agency of Southern New Mexico, Boys and Girls Club of Las Cruces, Big Brothers Big Sisters Mountain Region, and FYI Plus. Mentors in these organizations strengthen our community by fostering relationships that increase social capital for youth, promoting healthy interactions, strong communication, positive self-esteem, and emotional well-being. And whereas during the COVID-19 pandemic, mentoring programs are needed more than ever. Mentors stepped up to fill gaps for young people and families, connecting them with resources, ensuring that mentoring relationships continue virtually to prevent social disconnection caused by physical distance. And whereas mentoring plays a pivotal role in career exploration and supports workplace skills by helping young people set career goals, equips mentors with the skills needed to support our youth's professional growth and drive rewarding results for both youth and businesses. And whereas students who meet regularly with their mentors are 52% less likely to skip school and 55% more likely to enroll in college, they are 46% less likely to use drugs and 27% less likely to drink. To become a mentor in Doña County, please contact one of these local organizations or visit mentoring.org to find resources and information. Now, therefore, as the Doña County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim the month of January as Youth Mentoring Month. Mr. Chairman, a proclamation for you and the board's consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. Mayor Pro Tem.
Chair Sanchez, Commissioners, Mr. Macias, and staff, thank you so much for putting together this proclamation. We very much appreciate it. Again, I'm Cassandra Gandara, Mayor Pro Tem for the City of Las Cruces. I am founder of the Doniana Resilience Leaders, a collective impact model in our county that's working to address adverse childhood experiences, what happens when it goes undetected and untreated. January is National Youth Mentoring Month. We're thrilled that every Thursday this month we have activities for the community, such as on January 6th. If you're a mentor, you can encourage others to be one too. Reach out to these community partners that have programming specific for youth mentors. I think we heard Beth Hoffman indicate that we have 150 plus youth that need a mentor currently. So there's a waiting list. So I expect all of us, if we're not a mentor currently, to call and encourage others to become a mentor. January 13th is Thanking a Mentor. January 20th is a service project, is give time to a young person this week, make a difference together. And January 27th, Wear Red, support youth mentors. Again, I appreciate it. We have Ashley here representing my I always get that confused. Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Boys and Girls Club.
Boys and Girls Club. Sorry. In my district, actually, April and Beth were unable to be here, so I'm sure Ashley has a few words that she'd like to say. Thank you.
I'm not suggesting anything but spring it after you. Don't be scared.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chair Sanchez. Thank you again for having us and for giving us this recognition. It's a running joke between me and Beth Hoffman from Big Brothers Big Sisters because we're confused on a daily basis, and we take no offense to it because we both know we're doing great work with youth. What I always like to tell people about the Boys and Girls Club is, you know, when we're serving youth from kindergarten all the way through high school, we know when they leave our program, the number one thing they're going to remember is at least one adult at the club that had an impact on their life. I grew up going to a Boys and Girls Club, and I'm the same way. I still have my mentor, actually, from childhood. So we know how important those relationships are. And organizations like mine and Big Brothers Big Sisters and Kids Can, they're playing an integral role in lives of kids all over the county. And so I always say no one entity can do it on their own. It takes all of us, right? It takes that village. And just want to echo what Mayor Pro Tem said, that we're always in need of mentors. I know Beth needs them for Big Brothers Big Sisters. We always are looking for volunteers at the Boys and Girls Club, but guess what? Of course, we're also looking for employees right now. So anybody who's passionate and has some type of a talent or skill or something that they want to give back to youth, we always encourage, send them our way. I always say it's the most important job they'll ever have. So thank you again for the recognition, and together we can all make a difference in kids' lives.
Thank you. Is there any other public input or commission input? Okay. Seeing none, Brandy, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Ellens,
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparral,
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo,
Yes.
Chair Sanchez.
Yes. That proclamation passes 4-0. Thank you.
Show off those great faces. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on to agenda item number 3, which is our fiscal year 2023 budget kickoff. Ms. Dawood.
Good morning, Commissioners. Today I would be presenting, this is Asma Dawood, Financial Services Director. We would be presenting the fiscal year 23 budget kickoff. Our new fiscal year will begin on July 1st, 2022. We have already started working on our upcoming year's budget. We had a training for the county on 5th January, where we provided them the material that they need to complete for each department to be able to provide it back to us by February 11th. Today, I would be discussing the assumptions, the budget, management direction, the cycles, and the due date. On the budget assumptions, we are expecting the revenues to be 3.9 million higher compared to what we have budgeted for the current fiscal year. In property taxes, we estimate 738,000 more than our current budget. This is based on a calculation formula from DFA where we used last 3 years' average property evaluations. For gross receipt tax, we are expecting 2.63 million more than what we have budgeted this year. And in equalization tax, we are expecting an increase of 500,000 from our current budget capacity. So that would add up to revenue assumptions of 3.9 million. We also are expecting more expenses next year. Our expenditure assumptions are 2.7 million. The first item we have is health insurance. There is a 9% increase, which would add up to about 1.2 million, and 700,000 is for other increases, which was approved by BOCC at the last meeting to bring the county contribution to 80% for those who were below 80. Union step increases are estimated at 700,000. The para contribution will increase by 0.5%, which adds up to $50,000. Right now, we do not have the amount for union salary and contract negotiations. Based on these assumptions, the difference between our revenue assumptions and expenditures is 1.2 million, which we will use to cover other operating requests from departments. On operating budget, we are requesting all the departments to limit their requests, but to ensure that they do prioritize and also address all departmental important needs. For new positions or reclassifications, they need to provide proper justification, and management would look at historical and current vacancies to make a determination on new positions. We will continue to use the vacancy factor, which is 6.5%, like we have used in the prior years and current year. The training, budget kickoff training, was provided to all the departments on January 5th. They were given a little over a month, so by February 11th, they would be completing their budget submissions to the budget office. During the month of February, we will review each department's budget. If there are any questions, clarifications, we'll work with them to make any edits needed. In March, the budget office, the departments, and county management will have meetings to go over their budgets. If needed, there would be following meetings in the month of April to finalize our preliminary submission. The preliminary budget is due to Department of Finance and Administration on 1st June. So on May 24th BOCC meeting, we will come before the BOCC with our preliminary budget for the county for your review and approval. The final budget is due July 31st. So on the July 26th meeting, we would come before the board to review and approve the final budget to be submitted to DFA. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Dawood. Are there any questions? Okay. Not seeing any, so thank you, Ms. Dawood.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on to consent agenda, which is items 4 through 10. Are there any items on the consent agenda that the commissioners would like to pull for separate consideration?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Ellens?
I'd like to pull items 6, 7, and 8 for separate discussion.
Okay, there's a request to pull items 6, 7, and 8 for separate consideration. Are there any others? Okay, so if I can get a motion to approve agenda items 4, 5, 9, and 10.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Chaparral,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Ellens. Are there any comments, questions on these items, 4, 5, 9, and 10? Public input? Okay, Brandy, will you call the roll on agenda items 4, 5, 9, and 10?
Commissioner Ellens,
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparral,
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo,
Yes.
Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
We do have a couple of resolutions. Item number 4, 2022-07. Item number 5, 2022-08.
Okay. All right, so we'll come back to agenda item number 6 now. It's a resolution to return vehicles to Border Patrol under Stone Garden. If I can get a motion and a second to begin the discussion?
So moved.
So I heard
Second.
sorry, I was going to say, moved by Commissioner Allen, seconded by Commissioner Chaparral. Thank you for that, Commissioner Chaparral. Okay, Commissioner Allens.
Is there a representative from the Sheriff's Department here?
Mr. Chairman, Captain Day is present with us this morning. And Mr. Chairman, can I make sure that Commissioner Allen has the microphone turned on or just a little bit closer?
Morning.
Morning, sir. How are you?
I noticed in the documents under this item that there is no documentation that the Border Patrol has asked for these vehicles to be returned.
Are they talking about the resolution to return
Can you lower
the?
your mask, please?
Are we talking about the resolution to return the vehicles from the Stone Garden? Oh, yes. It was sent over to Don Ibarra, our grant administrator that handles the Stone Garden grant, and that these items were identified by U.S. Border Patrol to be returned to them as their property that was purchased with federal funds.
When did when did the sheriff end its relationship with the Border Patrol?
I believe that was when we did not seek an extension of the Stone Garden grant. I believe that was last year in this office, or in this chamber.
I honestly don't remember that coming before the commission.
So,
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, in January of last year, there was an item came before the commission accepting the Stone Garden grant. However, the limitation on that was that we would be acting only as the fiscal agent to pass money on to other entities within the state, and that Dona County was not accepting, would not be actively participating in that. And that was done in the first or second meeting of 2021. I looked that up yesterday because that question had come up.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I think the explanation is that the sheriff has decided to allow the current grant to expire and not to seek extensions. I think that there's probably monies available from the last 3 grants, but it's being used at a very low level. So I think the notice was given to the Stone Garden related officials or Homeland Security that the sheriff's office would not seek an extension. So automatically the grant agreements will expire sometime this summer, probably at the end of June.
that is correct. At the end of June, we are no longer the fiducial agent over the grant. It's going to Sunland Park, I believe.
All right, I appreciate that explanation. Frankly, I'm disappointed that we're ending that relationship because many of your deputies earn significant overtime, and I'm sure that's going to concern them.
Well, fortunately, we have several different funding sources coming in for overtime projects to include safe streets. There's some for the schools. There's a multitude of different grants that are coming in to address more community-oriented crime problems and solutions. And so we won't be so much on the border anymore. We will be more involved within our community elements, utilizing different monies.
Well, when I was first elected to the board in my first year, we were given a tour of Stone Garden, and I was impressed, frankly, with the fact that we were able to not seize people, because that was not the objective, but to report crossings of the border to the Border Patrol so they could find them and pick them up. And it was also a drug intervention program, and I think that going without that is a significant problem. But, all right, my questions have been answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ellens.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Absolutely, Commissioner Chaparral.
and thank you. And this is a question for County Manager Macias. Mr. Macias, have we received all the documentation provided by the sheriff regarding Border Patrol reclaiming these vehicles? Do we have it in our files so that letters, any letters that were sent by the sheriff to Border Patrol or Border Patrol or to the sheriff from Border Patrol, from the sheriff to Border Patrol regarding the listed vehicles?
I believe that there, certainly from within the Sheriff's Department, there has been confirmation that the vehicles that are listed as part of this agenda item are the vehicles that the Sheriff's Department agrees that were purchased with Stone Garden funds and based on the terms of the agreement are required to return these vehicles. So yes, we have all of that documented.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, if I may, another comment. I agree with Commissioner Allens that I am too disappointed that Stone Grant will not continue because I work in the courts and I'm seeing a huge increase of not smuggling humans, but trafficking human beings. And I think that it's going to affect our county a bit if we do not take advantage of that money to be there on the border to make sure that human beings, children mostly and women, are not trafficked.
That is a true concern of the Sheriff's Department to address trafficking issues. We've had several successful cases recently where we have taken down some trafficking rings, some in Chaparral, some in Chamberino, and some in La Mesa. Those were not connected to Stone Garden. Those are through good old-fashioned police work and identifying criminal elements within communities from community members. As we address the future of our organization, Stone Garden just kind of wasn't addressing what we needed to address anymore. The focus was not what it started out to be. When I first started with the department, Stone Garden was all about interdiction narcotics, interdicting smuggling, and things like that. And things have changed with it. And from that change, it's not in the direction of the department, or I believe the county would want to go either. It becomes very questionable with resolutions that have passed from this county and the mission and objective of Stone Garden from U.S. Border Patrol Customs Enforcement. So instead of having that conflict within the organization and within the communities, we've just elected to turn this over to Sullivan Park, who's actually right on the border, and this will directly impact their elements and directly impact their organization and give them much needed funding as well. We've had a good run with Stone Garden, over a decade of utilization of it. Millions and millions of dollars have come to the county. And unfortunately, this property here, the Border Patrol, this is not all the property they've given us, but this is the only stuff that they want back from us. So that's kind of a benefit to us. They're not taking any patrol units or anything that were related to those kind of purchases. This is just mainly desert operating vehicles so they can staff their stations down on the border with these items.
Thank you, Commissioner Chaparral. Are there any other questions on agenda item number 6? Vice Chair, you good?
I do want to say I concur with you, Captain, about the Stone Garden, because the city of Anthony, we've dealt with that, and I think it's their mission is different now than what it was 10 years ago. So I understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of item number 6.
And then we already have that motion and a second on the floor for agenda item number 6. If there's no other input at the moment, I'll ask Brandy to call the roll on agenda item 6.
Commissioner Ellens,
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparral,
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo,
Yes.
Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I have some questions on item 7.
Okay, hold on, and I think Brandy, with that one has a resolution. Is that,
Actually, it's 7 and 8 that have resolutions.
is it? Okay.
No, I apologize. Yes, that does have a resolution number. 2022-9.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, agenda item number 7, accept education and enforcement grant from the New Mexico Department of Transportation in the amount of $6,408.47 to enhance traffic enforcement in the county and school zones and associated budget revision and resolution. If I can get a motion and a second to begin that discussion.
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Murillo. Can I have second, if I'll take that as a second from Commissioner Ellens. Okay. And I know this is Captain. Commissioner Ellens?
I just want to know what I'm voting for, that's all.
That's a good question. I believe on the,
The grant award will pay for 2 lighters, 10-seat organizer bags, and 12 box flat clipboards. What is all that stuff?
the 2 LiDARs are the tool that's used to measure speed from vehicles. It uses a laser to, it's like the old radars, or the radar of old. It uses a laser now, and so it's able to get the speed of the vehicle. The 10-seat organizer bags, no clue. I think it's a seat organizing bag. And the 12-box flat clipboards are for writing all the citations on. They put them on there, the ticket on there, and that's what they hand to the driving, offending driver, and they use that to sign the ticket on. It's a grant award we were able to get that's be able to purchase these things and not come out of county funds. So they come out of these other traffic safety deals.
Okay.
Okay.
I figured that what the clipboards were for, but I could not figure out the other 2.
I completely understand.
Yeah. Are there any other questions on agenda item number 7? Any other input? Okay, Randy, we call the roll on agenda item number 7?
Don't go away.
Commissioner Ellens?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparral?
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo? Chair Sanchez?
Yes.
And item 7 has a resolution number of 2022-10.
Okay, and let's see, on to agenda item number 8.
I move approval.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Ellens. I'll second that motion. Okay. So this is agenda item number 8, which is to accept a collaborative crisis response training program grant from the Bureau of Justice Assistance, the BJA, in the amount of $139,964 and associated budget revision and resolution. So, Captain? Commissioner Ellens.
This grant is to be used for the purpose of training Sheriff's Department deputies in crisis response and de-escalation of situations. How many of the deputies are going to be trained under this program? All the deputies or just a selected few?
So this is going to be an organizational-wide change and shift in the department. So we're looking at, we found funding sources to be able to train all the deputies in de-escalation techniques and crisis intervention, get them up to level 1. Initially, it's going to start off with just a handful to become trained, the trainers. So we don't have to ship people out places that cost more money to do that. We bring in the training element here. And then once that training element grows here, then we spread the program throughout the rest of patrols. We'll have at least all 80 patrol officers to be at the crisis intervention team level 1 status.
Is 139,000 and change going to be enough to train everybody?
I sure hope so. I think so.
How long will this training last?
Well, it's an initiative for the whole department. So the training in itself is about 40 hours. So we will have to do it through phase rotation of different units coming through to teach everybody as it progresses. But this is a long-term goal as well. So we just identified the funding sources to pay for this, to begin the process of training, getting instructors in here to train our people to become trainers, and then whatever related it needs to do. So we can move down that road.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on agenda item number 8? Okay.
And
Commissioner
Mr.
Chaparral?
Chair, after item number 8, I'd like to ask a question since we have a deputy representative here after we go through item number 8. I have a question on number 6 that just popped up, and I apologize, but thank you.
Sure, okay. Any other input? Seeing none, Brandy, will you call the roll on agenda item number 8?
Commissioner Ellens?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparral?
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo?
Yes.
Chair Sanchez?
Yes.
The item has a resolution number of 2022-11.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Chaparro, you said you had a,
And I apologize, but we have representatives from the Sheriff's Department, and as things pop up before you leave, when is the date that the vehicles will be returned to Border Patrol?
Ooh, good question. Chairman, I believe we're shooting for middle of next month. So we've already identified the vehicles, we brought them in, we've removed all county property off of them, we prepared them for shipment over to Border Patrol, and I believe it's gonna be by next month.
So the entirety of this list will be returned by mid-month. We've not returned anything prior to that?
Not that I'm aware of, no, not yet. Because we had to get our property off of it, our radios, our things that are ours.
Okay, thank you.
thank you, Captain Day.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Chaparro. Okay, we're on to, under approvals, agenda item number 11, which is to review comment on the Sunland Park Alta Mesa annexation petition of 23 parcels totaling 1,784.6 acres. It's generally located south of the Airport Road, east of Pete Domenici Boulevard, and northeast New Mexico Highway 9. If I can get a motion and a second for approval. Moved by
Second.
Commissioner Allen, seconded by Commissioner Chaparro. Ms. Ainsworth, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This is a petition that was submitted to the City of Sunland Park, and they have forwarded to the BOCC for comment per state statute. It is 23 parcels and rights-of-way, and for a total of 784 acres approximately. The zoning varies based on a master plan that has been approved for the area. That master plan was approved in 2008, and there is also a new urbanism ordinance that was approved by the City of Sunland Park that applies to that area. You can see this is generally in the area of McNutt and Airport Road, and the area in blue is the proposed annexation area. It does leave a substantial gap within the city limits of Sunland Park, which would remain in the unincorporated county. And there's varying zoning throughout the area based on the master plan that was approved. And it was for a master plan community that would have a variety of housing types, potentially some neighborhood commercial, and was intended to be a community with consistent zoning and development throughout. The DRC did meet and provided comments, provided a draft letter for the BOCC. And I will go ahead and read the comments in the letter. The area of annexation will create an undesirable boundary that leaves a large island between the proposed area of annexation and the western municipal boundary line of Sunland Park. This may lead to the possibility of major jurisdictional confusion for emergency response and other required services. The existing NMDOT and DAC maintenance agreements for signalizations and street lighting will need to be transferred to the City of Sunland Park. Water and wastewater infrastructure system designed to serve this area will need to be approved and negotiated with the Camino Real Regional Utility Authority. Doñana County shall be provided agency review for all proposed developments within the area of annexation based on infrastructure impacts and how the roadways and utilities will be developed over time. Additionally, the annexed area shall be surveyed rather than using the GIS maps to determine the exact boundaries. Adhere to the new urbanism zoning district and Village 1 zoning map or amend as necessary. At time of development, a coordinated strategy between the developers, City of Sunland Park, Doñana County, and other affected governmental entities is in the best interest of all parties to ensure orderly growth patterns and efficient extension of infrastructure for transportation and utility services. A petition for incorporation of the City of Santa Teresa was filed with the BOCC on July 14th, 2015, that included the area that is the subject of the proposed annexation. That petition was pending before the BOCC when the request for annexation was made to the City of Sunland Park. And then we referenced that case. So that concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Ainsworth. Is there any questions regarding the annexation or the letter response to the City of Sunland Park? Commissioner Allens? And your microphone is off. Commissioner Allens, your microphone is off.
There's a huge donut hole left for the county to govern. What practical problems, if any, does that present to us?
That does create issues, obviously, particularly with emergency response, because it will be confusing that, you know, such a large area within the City of Sunland Park would remain in the county. And I don't have answers right now as to how that will be handled, but it will require ensuring that all emergency services are aware of that boundary line so that they know where to respond and so that we don't have any issues with lack of response due to that confusion.
Is that donut hole comprised mostly of desert?
There are some areas that are already developed. You can see those primarily here, more adjacent to the existing limits, and extending all the way through this area. The remainder is largely undeveloped, but over time, as it develops, we will have to ensure that we have proper coordination, not just for emergency services, but for planning purposes, so that we ensure that we're developing in a compatible manner.
And Mr. Chairman, there's some other practical aspects of it. That area is the old country club area of Santa Teresa. It's the historic areas that have been developed for the last 40 years. That is basically the core of the area that was being proposed to become the city of Santa Teresa. And so the other position to take is to encourage the city of Sunland Park to be looking and making preparations to accept that area into the city. It really is nonsensical to have all the surrounding area be part of the city of Sunland Park, and I'm sure that that's not where they're going to want to stop. They'll continue to go further north at some point. I believe that that's the plans. They'll be probably intending and hoping that they can go further east, and yet you're going to leave this populated area basically within the county jurisdiction. I think that we can certainly coordinate it properly with MIRVDA so that it doesn't cause confusion in terms of who has the primary responsibility. But I also think that there are reciprocal agreements with the City of Sunland Park, between the City of Sunland Park and the county, where we can be providing backup services to one another. So I don't see that necessarily as an impediment. The impediment is the perception of, because rarely do you find that, pockets of county within a municipal jurisdiction. So there are broader points of discussion. Perhaps an appropriate forum for it is as we're going through, and Commissioners Chaparral and Murillo are fully aware that we're doing a management assessment of the CRUA area of responsibility. That could be a forum because we will be discussing planning-related responsibilities to have some discussions in terms of a more consistent approach to development.
It strikes me as a planning nightmare.
It could be if it isn't coordinated properly. Again, that's why I'm saying there are some political overtones to basically saying, you know, why are you leaving these pockets behind? I'm assuming that there are people that reside within that donut hole area that are adverse to being annexed into the city of Sunland Park. But at some point, we have to start discussing the reality of consistency in terms of the burden that it places on local governments, to have this inconsistency in development.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Chaparral.
Thank you. And just looking over, Ms. Amesworth, what you have read to the commission today, what comes to mind that concerns me, because I do sit on the CRUA board, is number 3, is the wastewater and water infrastructure system. It's not been presented that I know of or that I recall to the CRUA board for any type of approval or any type of negotiation or any type of meeting so that that can be discussed and to make sure that water and wastewater is available to the residents that may possibly be living there, unless I'm incorrect, Vice Chair Murillo. I don't believe that this has been presented to CRUA, so it may be not ready to be addressed at this point by this board, unless CRUA can provide to us some sort of plan on how they propose to get water and wastewater to possible residents in that area.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond? Although it certainly is a very legitimate concern, there is very little, if any, development within that blue area. It is basically a grouping of property owners that are asking the city of Sunland Park to annex in. Please remember that it is very timely for this board to present comment. You're not approving, you're not technically rejecting because you don't have the authority to do that, but it is important to comment as early as possible. So I would encourage you not to delay kind of a strong comment related to the inconsistency in development. Please remember that any property owners that don't have access to water certainly probably will have some right to dig a domestic well. They have a right to have a septic tank, although we do everything we can to discourage that. But there is the potential for development of property if the lots are appropriate in size without having access to municipal water and wastewater services, although that certainly would be the very best option. So there would have to be requests made to CRUA, although perhaps not at this time because this is an annexation issue and not necessarily a request for services from CRUA.
Thank you, Mr. Macias, and I do understand what you're saying, but I'm looking at a couple of years, 5 years down the line, and there is already such a need, and there are issues with the water and wastewater that CRUA is providing at this time. That is something that this commissioner cannot ignore.
Thank you, Commissioner Chaparro. Are there any other questions or comments? Any public input? Okay. So we have one here in the back. Please come up. If you can, please state your name for the record. And if you don't mind taking off your mask,
Sure.
so we can hear you clearly. Thank you.
My name is Miriam Karkowski. I am president of Tecma Transportation Services, and we also have properties in Santa Teresa, New Mexico. And I am not here for this issue, but as I'm listening to it, I am not familiar, so I apologize if I am inappropriate in my comment. I just am very concerned about the school districts and education between Sunland Park and Santa Teresa, and they keep annexing, and I don't know if it's prepared for that. That's all my comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And if you wouldn't mind also signing the book here on your left, just so that way we have name and contact information for the record. Sir, did I see your hand up?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. My name is Marty Pillar, and I'm working on the development of the 1,100 acres, which is part of this annexation project. And in response to Commissioner Chaparral's question, yes, I have been in contact with CRUA. I have received a ready, willing, and able letter for the first 180 acres of development of that property. We have been in contact with Mr. Westmoreland at CRUA concerning water and sewer service for this development. And then also we have been in touch with the Gadsden School District and talking about schools to address the previous comment.
Very good. Awesome. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any further public comment? Okay, I know this item, we have a motion and a second for approval. Randy, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Ellens,
No.
Commissioner Chaparro,
No.
Vice Chair Murillo,
Yes.
Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, we have a statutory obligation to provide a comment. And the vote that we just did is that we are not providing them a comment. So I don't know how that plays out. I guess we will send it back to them that there is no comment because we don't have authority to comment, and they will take it as however they wish to at that point. But is our statutory obligation to review and comment. So we have no comment to send back to them at this point.
And
Can you explain why there's no comment?
Because it's a tie vote and you're not able to make a comment. So, Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, I would ask that Commissioner Ellens and Commissioner Chaparro rethink. I know that you're wanting to send a message that is kind of a disapproval, but send that message. If you feel that there's additional language that should be incorporated, then let's talk about how we incorporate those additional concerns into the communication. Otherwise, we're at a deadlock and we're not taking any position. So even if you feel that you're sending a negative communication related to these actions, it's not going to be heard by anyone at all because we have no comment to make because it's a 2-2 vote.
thank you, Mr. Macias. And I agree with, well, I'll have to oppose that to my fellow commissioners, and I agree. I think the issue at hand is that, and I think you mentioned it earlier, is that we are limited in what we can do. We can't necessarily outright reject it. And so all we've been able to do, and I think we've seen these, I don't know how many times we've seen these annexations that have come forward before the BOCC, and we have the same comments, and it feels like it falls on deaf ears. So I absolutely agree with your sentiment, Commissioner Chaparro, because we've brought up continuously, even before we had our hearing on Santa Teresa, that we didn't agree with, or at least requested that the city of Sunland Park would halt and stop their annexations, but they continue on. And it's every time we send a letter, like I said, it feels like it falls on deaf ears. So I absolutely can appreciate your sentiments to the commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, if I might add just in addition, should there ever be any kind of litigation related to this annexation, there has to be a record, and you're creating part of that record, and part of that record is expressing the displeasure of the commission related to this approach, this piecemeal approach in the annexation process. So I would encourage you that if you're wanting to send a message of concern, that it is worth sending that message because it could be heard at different levels.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Chaparro?
in order to express my extreme concern and disappointment in the way that this annexation is being brought forward, I will change my vote to a yes so that our comments can be made of record. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Chaparro. Okay, then we'll record a vote of 3 in favor and 1 against, and that will pass. Thank you. We're on to agenda item number 12, which is appoint a resident member to the Maquila Valley Housing Authority Board.
Thank you,
Ms.
Mr.
Ingworth.
Chair. As you stated, this item is just to appoint the resident commissioner, Joseph Figueroa, to the Maquila Valley Public Housing Authority.
Ms. Ainsworth, I see this is the only one that was interested in the position?
He has, from what I understand, has been serving and is interested in continuing to serve, and there were no other candidates that were nominated by the board.
Okay. So what I'll ask is if I can get a motion and a second to approve resident commissioner Joseph Figueroa to another term on the Maquila Valley Public Housing Authority.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Chaparral,
Second.
seconded by Vice Chair Murillo. Are there any comments or questions? Okay. Randy, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Ellens,
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro,
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo,
Yes.
Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Thank you.
That agenda item is approved 5-0. Agenda item number 13 is a report on the annual inspection of the Dona County Detention Center. Mr. Gooden.
Mr. Chair, this is required annually. This was done for last year's inspection. It was done by Commissioner Chaparral and Commissioner Murillo, and they've attached in the agenda, the packet includes their inspection sheet done jointly and some additional comments. I would defer to one of them or both of them of any additional comments they would like to advise the board. Years back, this report actually had to go to the district court and I think the grand jury. Several years back, that was changed. It just required the report to be done to the BOCC in an open meeting. So just kind of a little history of it. But I would defer to the two commissioners that did the inspection if they have any additional comments.
Thank you, Mr. Gooden. I don't know, Vice Chair Murillo or Commissioner Chaparro, I don't know if you have any comments of the inspection that was performed last year? Okay. Well, then I'll ask for a motion on the approval of the annual inspection.
If I may interrupt, I was giving Vice Chair Murillo an opportunity to address the commission if she so desired first before I started.
No, no problem. I mean, whoever, Vice Chair, would you like to?
Well, we did go to do the inspection weeks ago, and I mean, the facility needs a lot of improvement. It does. First of all, we went into the break room where the staff is, and I did mention to staff and mention to Commissioner Chaparro that it needed an upgrade, at least for staff. And also, I did go into the cells where the inmates are located, and the showers need a lot of improvement. I know these showers have been in this since the 90s, I believe, and I am concerned that the tile and all that needs, it needs an upgrade and needs to be renovated as for a lot of these individuals that we don't want them to expose more to germs or anything and end up going to the doctor, end up paying more money for that when we can be able to fix these restrooms and the kitchen area as well. We an upgrade as well on the walk-in refrigerator. There is short staff, and I know a lot of these individuals work overtime, so that needs to be looked into as well. And I also, Commissioner Chaparro, if you would like to add.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to thank the Captain Baker and his staff for allowing us to tour the detention center I had been there as a judge doing arraignments many, many times, but I was able to step inside the detention center. And what was brought to my attention immediately is how professional the staff is and how hardworking they are and how they are so alert and how proud they are of the hard work they do for the county. As in regards to the facility, I think it needs a little modernization. It is a jail. It's not a hotel room. And so there's so many people going through, it's difficult to keep new all the time. We would like to see, Vice Chair Murillo and I would like to see, if it's possible, a bigger break area for the staff members. I know they are understaffed at this time, but I was surprised to see that there's counselors available for people that are having mental crises or drug issues. I didn't know that existed within our detention center, and that was such a pleasant surprise. But they do need a couple of things upgraded, and I know that the captain will probably be talking to our county manager, Mr. Macias, regarding those. We did receive an email from Captain Baker. One of my concerns was that the detainees were not able to speak to their attorneys, but this is just a temporary thing because there's construction, so I know that that will be changed. But again, thanks to the staff, it was very enlightening for me.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Macias.
Mr. Chairman, if you would permit, I know that I shared the email that Captain Baker provided to me in response to some of the findings that are included in this report. If you'd permit me just a couple of minutes, let me just review this so that it gives a sense of where we are with some of the issues that were identified by both Commissioner Chaparral and Murillo. Mr. Macias, in response to some of the comments following the Commissioner's inspection of the detention center, the detainee shower areas are a known issue due to the age of the facility and the construction. We're looking to upgrade the showers with stainless steel inserts, which would eliminate the issues with the showers. The facility has tried multiple methods of shower treatments, new tile, epoxy coating, paint, etc., that have all failed to perform. These prior attempts to leave the showers looking dirty due to the cinder block being exposed, even though the showers are cleaned weekly. We will be including it in our budget for consideration this upcoming year. The walk-in refrigerator and freezer items that are currently planned for replacement and/or retrofitting during the common area configuration of the kitchen planned with ARPA funds for that purpose. Again, those issues related to anything in the kitchen area, this commission has already dedicated $1 million for that project. And that project is forthcoming. This project is awarding bids for the project and has passed the architectural and engineering phases. Bids are due early next month, according to information from the Facilities Department. The employee break area, as has been mentioned by both commissioners, was constructed and put into operation only 4 years ago and represented a substantial upgrade from what existed previously. The area includes TVs, a kitchen, ice machine, restrooms, locker, and a changing station. While it could always be upgraded, we have limited space available, and it will require the services of a designer, architect, and engineer to make the space into something more than it is, although I'm aware of another space at the detention center that is no longer being used because of the acquisition of the Copper Loop Annex right across the street, in which some of our training activities have been moved related to the detention center. So I'll have a discussion with Mr. Baker to see if that space can be utilized as well for some support for our employees there. I don't have a time or reference point for the central monitoring area. This is where we have where a main sewer line basically disintegrated, and we're having to work to replace that sewer line. The normal number of staff present and assigned to that location is 2 officers. with the occasional supervisor there for rounds. While more individuals are present, it is usually for meeting of short duration. We can look into having the design and layout changed in the future and make it more modern and comfortable for the 2 assigned officers. The attorney hallway for visitation is in the final phases of the sewer repair. The new tile is being installed in the lobby and the attorney hallway. Once completed, they can resume visitation in the facility. During the construction, we have provided access via Zoom in the attorney visit areas that is private for use of the attorneys. The delays with the construction and repair of the sewer lines at the facility have taken a long time due to the general delays seen in all areas of construction. There are only a few cement cutters with employees available, and we have had to wait nearly a month at the beginning to schedule them. The pandemic added certain reductions in the availability and occasional delays with their workers. Dona County Facilities required the contractor to perform compaction tests before pouring concrete at the end to ensure that a new concrete slab won't fail in the future. The unexpected failure of the planned tie-in point requiring the project to be extended by 20 feet to tie into the prior repair all added to the project length, but it will ultimately produce quality lasting effects. Then again, just an invitation for any more detail to be given. Obviously, there's a lot of improvements that are actually occurring, and this commission, from prior reviews, has made commitments in resources. The projects have taken a little bit longer. There's still other projects to come. There's millions of dollars, millions, that this commission has committed to improvements at the detention center, including the complete overhaul of the heating and cooling system that is costing the county nearly $7 million. So there is a very good track record in terms of improvements to the facility, with more that are forthcoming, just to, again, give a perspective in terms of what is occurring. But I do want to thank both Commissioner Chaparral and Murillo for making that effort and kind of informing themselves and sharing their observations.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. And thank you, Vice Chair and Commissioner Chaparro, for performing the inspection and bringing those points up so that way they can be addressed. Okay, I need a motion and a second to approve the annual inspection report. Moved by Vice Chair Murillo.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Chaparro. Are there any other comments, questions, public input? Okay, Brandy, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Ellens,
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro,
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo,
Yes.
Chair Sanchez.
Yes. Okay, we're on to agenda item number 14, which is appoint a commissioner to serve on the Metro Narcotics Agency. And I know when we were doing our committee assignments in our last meeting, this was one that we had requested originally that the county manager have or appoint a representative to attend the meeting. However, due to the JPA of the Metro Narcotics Agency, there is a requirement that it must be a county commissioner. So it's here before us today to see if any commissioner would be able or willing to serve on the Narcotics Agency.
I nominate Commissioner Chaparro
Okay,
pursuant to behind-the-scenes networking.
okay, so we have a nomination for Commissioner Chaparro to be on the representative on the Metro Narcotics Agency. Are there any nominations? Okay, so we've got a motion, I guess, to approve Commissioner Chaparro to be our representative on the Metro Narcotics Agency. So I'll take the Commissioner Ellens' nomination as a motion. I will second that. If there's no other input or comments, I'll just say before we vote, thank you, Commissioner Chaparro. Brandy, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Ellens,
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro,
Yes, and I'd like to thank Commissioner Ellens for volunteering me and talking to me about it. Thank you.
Vice Chair Murillo,
Yes.
Chair Sanchez.
Yes. All right, agenda item number 15, our mid-year budget revision and budget resolution for fiscal year 2022. Ms. Dawood, hello again.
Good morning, Commissioners. Asma Daud, Financial Services Director. We are now presenting FY22 mid-year budget adjustments. We have 18 different adjustments that I would be going over. 6 of them are related to grants, which the county has received. We just have not included it in our budget yet. The first adjustment that I have is increase in general fund revenues. The equalization tax came in September. We had budgeted it at 4.85 million. The county received 6.76 million. There was a difference of 1.9 million that we are increasing our budgeted revenues by. We also received a one-time gross receipt tax recovery settlement of 1.17 million. This was Dona County's portion given to us by the state. We also incurred legal fee related to this GRT recovery settlement of 127,295. So this entry would be increasing our revenue by the settlement and also adjusting the expense for the legal fee amount. The next item we have is for legal. It's a $65,000 increase in expenses. That is to cover 3 invoices for IRB projects. We had received funding for them last year and we had put it in our budget, but due to timing issues, these invoices were paid in this fiscal year and we need to adjust legal department's budget to account for them. The next item we have is for utilities, is for the Mesquite Transfer Station. The request is for $300,000. This is to drill a new monitoring well and cap off existing monitoring wells. This is an NMED requirement, and we have the BLM permit, which is valid for 6 months. The next item is for Chaparral Wastewater System. That's an amount of $8,453, which was received from a customer for sewer tap. We record these once we receive funds from customers. Our next couple of adjustments are grants that are appropriations that the county has already received the money or awards. We had just not included them in our budget. The first one is for DASO. It's a state appropriation of $950,000. This is to purchase, equip, and replace DASO vehicle radios. The second one is Justice Assistance or JAG grant for $11,818. This was received in July, and we need to include it in FY22 budget. For community development, the request is for New Mexico Clean and Beautiful grant. The amount is $11,818. This was also not included in FY22 final budget, and we are requesting to add it at mid-year. For facilities, the sale of county property was approved by BOCC in April 2021, and that the proceeds can be used for facilities requests. All of the amount was not budgeted in FY22, so we need to make an adjustment to add a revenue of $49,500 and expenses of $174,500, so that the amount correctly matches $274,500 from the sale of property, which was approved. Facilities will use this money to buy insecticides, cameras for community centers, CES bond funds for grant projects, and other building maintenance items. The next is a state appropriation of $61,418. This is for Maquila Community Center vehicles, so that we can use this remaining budget in this fiscal year. For engineering, there are 13 different appropriations and grants. The total is $1.835 million. Some of the projects include El Camino Rail, Watson Lane, Wado New Horizons, and Quail Run Avenue. For Jetport runway grant, we are requesting an increase of $396,759 to the budget so that they can spend the remaining balance on the grant in this fiscal year. For fire department, the request is for $133,429. This is for 6 new positions. 3 are for firefighters and 3 for lieutenants, and they would be stationed to staff the new Oregon Fire Station. The annual impact would be $400,000. For the remaining of the fiscal year, we are requesting to increase the budget by $133,000. The EMS funds are received.
Excuse me, Ms. Tawad, I think we need to go to the next slide.
Okay. Oh, I'm
I think, sorry, when you're talking the fire, there we go, okay.
Yes. So the first request for fire was for 6 positions for $133,429. The next request for fire is for adjustment of EMS funds, which the fire department receives from the State Department of Health. We had budgeted $149,000 and received $154,000. The difference, $5,155, is being adjusted. The next adjustment is between fire funds. We are making adjustments between various fire funds to correct budgeted cash transfers. The last adjustment that we have is for fleet vehicle replacement purchase requests. For engineering, there is a request for water truck for $152,505. This would replace a 2012 water truck, which has over 106,000 miles. The next request is for 2 power brooms. The total cost is $152,175. One would replace a 19-year-old vehicle and the other a 22-year-old vehicle. These are used for regular road maintenance and projects like chip spreading. The next request is for community development for 3 Ford vehicles. The cost is $124,200. 2 would be used for inspector positions and 1 for plans examiner. Currently, they are using vehicles from vacant positions or one that should have been previously decommissioned. On the screen now, we have the summary of the adjustments. The total revenues would be adjusted by $6.5 million, and total expense adjustment is $4.5 million. The difference is about $2 million, which would go into our reserves and can be used in the future for capital purchases. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Dawood. Are there any questions on the mid-year budget adjustments?
Mr. Chairman, if you'd give me just a moment to really emphasize, obviously, we continue to be in a blessed or fortunate scenario in terms of additional revenues that are coming in. They certainly not at any grandiose level, but in terms of grants, in terms of additional GRT revenue, in terms of the settlement that was negotiated, it puts the commission in a better position to provide public services. The one that I really want to note, although all of them are important, is that it really allows us to continue to expand the full-time firefighter presence in the county. And one of the items that you approved earlier under the consent decree was to give us another opportunity to pursue the SAFER grant funding that would allow us to notably expand. The expansions that have occurred are down in Chaparral. Now with these, we're going to Oregon, and I know that Chief Cherry is here. Is the impact only Oregon? Yes. Okay, so this is going to allow us to operate now for the first time on the East Mesa, basically 24-hour coverage for our full-time firefighters. And of course, I don't want to diminish the ongoing efforts by Chief Cherry to continue the recruitment of volunteers, But if the safer monies were to, if we were to be successful in acquiring those funds, then they would go to Garfield. Forgive me, Rincon, in the northern part of the county, and basically the Santa Teresa area. So we really are, over the last 3 to 4 years, it's been incredible advancement in terms of having full-time firefighters and EMS personnel available throughout the county.
And Mr. Macias, if you wouldn't mind me adding to your comments, I think part of that SAFER grant was also the money for the volunteer coordinating. So that just kind of goes to your comments about trying to make sure we are still bolstering the volunteer piece of our things, or of our department. So through the SAFER grant as well. So appreciate everything Chief Cherry has done.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I had missed one slide, so there were 2 more adjustments. I'm just adding them now. I think it was right before fire. The first one is for Health and Human Services for DWI distribution. The amount is $94,181. This is what the county has received in reverted DWI distribution. The next one is from South Central Regional Transit District. Currently, our MOU, the county's MOU with SCRTD is $628,000. They are requesting an increase of $83,000 for higher than anticipated fuel costs. This would change their MOU to $711,000. So these were the 2 other adjustments on slide 6. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dawood. The only question or comment I'd like to make, and I know, Mr. Macias, you've already answered most of it, was around the F-150s that were for the Community Development Department. And one of the questions I was looking at was, have we looked at hybrid or all-electric versions? And the answer I was given is that based off of the current backlog, among other things, but that it would create a delay in providing the type of equipment for our Community Development Department. I would very much, while I'm supporting what's in the mid-year adjustment for now, what I would very much like to see, and I know there was a push to try to look at hybrids, but I would like to see the analysis that Mr. Silva, I believe Mr. McMahon was working on it before he left, to understand what we're doing in terms of looking at opportunities in our fleet department to go to an electric vehicle presence, because I know that's something, I think there's been concerns that with adoption of electric vehicles within the county, what would that do? And I know that with the city of Las Cruces looking to go in that direction, I think that only creates an opportunity for us to have a larger presence and ability to have chargers, et cetera, to reduce our infrastructure costs if we're interested in going that way. So I would request, if we can, to have or to see that kind of analysis and understand it's for the future. We're looking at 2022, 2023 at a minimum because of backlogs in inventory for fleet vehicles from manufacturers. But if we can have something like that, I would really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to assure you that although I'm certainly asking you to approve these mid-year adjustments, I really am going to sit down with Ms. Ainsworth and Mr. Silva to see to what degree we might be able to delay purchases. Part of the problem is that there's such a shift over to hybrid and electric that the vehicles are just not available. They're not available, and they won't be available for an extended period of time. But if we're able to weather that period of time, I think that there is certainly a management commitment to try to begin a process of converting our fleet to electric vehicles. Hybrids are a little bit more easy to acquire. However, where we have the greatest fleet impact is really in the law enforcement area. The other purchases pale in comparison to the amount of money that goes into both law enforcement and then the larger fire apparatuses. But we certainly are looking at very closely. I think I've identified internally an individual who has a very sophisticated background related to the pros and cons of electric vehicles, who I think will be able to help us, assist us over the course of the next 6 months as we begin building the budget for next year. But on just this very limited topic of these other 3 vehicles, I'll see, what the time frame is and whether we can still weather the time. We're being asked to do a lot of permitting, a lot of inspections all over the county. These really are aged vehicles that need to be replaced, but again, I'll have the discussions to see if we can wait until either the hybrid or the electric can come back in terms of availability.
Yeah, and I'd love to absolutely, and understand, like I said, the current environment with the demand and so on. And so what I would love to see is us develop a plan that would take that into account, but that transitions us to that point. So thank you. Are there any other questions on major budget adjustments? Okay. Can I get a motion and a second for approval of the major budget adjustments?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Chaparral,
Second.
seconded by Vice Chair Murillo. Okay. Is there any public input? Hey, Brandy, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Ellens?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro?
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo?
Yes.
Chair Sanchez?
Yes.
That does have a resolution number, 2022-12.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're on agenda item number 16, a publication of title and general summary of the Integrated Maquila Solutions LLC / TECMA Economic Development Act, or the lead project ordinance. Ms. Ainsworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item is a LIDA award for Integrated Maquila Solutions / Tecma for a property at 4851 Avenida Cril, where they want to establish a facility and will have 25 full-time employees by December 31st, 2026. The award is for up to $100,000. So our request today is to publish the notice so that we can then have the ordinance for your approval. And that would be on February 22nd. And as, just to reiterate, this is an award that's given by the state, and the county acts as fiscal agent. So it's really just a pass-through grant that goes directly to the company. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Ainsworth on the publishing of the LIDA funding? Okay, hearing none, can I get a motion and a second to approve agenda item number 16?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Chaparro,
Second.
seconded by Vice Chair Murillo. Okay. Any public input? Okay. Hearing none. Brandy, will you call the roll on agenda item 16?
Commissioner Ellens?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro?
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo?
Yes.
Chair Sanchez?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, let's see, agenda item number 17, it's an applications for transfer of ownership of 4 dispensary liquor license numbers, 0267, 0385, 0739, and 0752 for Circle K Stores Incorporated. Do we have our county clerk, Dr. Askin?
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Chair Sanchez, Commissioners. It's good to see you all. I am here this morning, and I believe I have to be sworn in for this.
Yes, thank
Would
you
that
for
be
reminding
correct?
me.
Okay.
To remain raising your right hand. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
All right. This morning, I'm here to present, and I'll just read.
Dr. Askin, if you wouldn't mind moving your mask.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Wasn't sure what the current protocol was here. So this is Amanda Lopez Askin, Dona County Clerk. I'm here to present agenda item number 17, and I will read you, for the record, the agenda item. The application to the New Mexico Regulation and Licensing Department, Alcoholic Beverage Control Division, requests approval of a transfer of ownership of 4 dispenser liquor licenses for Circle K. The numbers are 0267, 0385, 0739, and 0752. The addresses listed are in Vado, Las Cruces, and Anthony. We have not received any public comment at this point in our office or protests about the transfer. And again, pursuant to NMSA Section 60-6B-4, the board must hold a public hearing on the application within 45 days of the receipt of the application. And the BOCC may disapprove the transfer of the license if the transfer would be detrimental to the public health, safety, or morals of the residents of the local option district. Disapproval by the BOCC on public health and safety morals must be based on and supported by substantial evidence pertaining to the specific prospective transferee. And I'm going to go ahead and ask if there is a representative from either the giver or the givee here. There is? Okay. And you all sometimes want them to attest as well. So if you would come up here, that would be great. This is your agenda item. Again, our office has not received any communication regarding these liquor licenses. And
Good morning. If you wouldn't mind raising your right hand. Do you swear to affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Good. Thank you. Good morning. And if you don't mind stating your name for the record.
Good morning, Chairman and Council. My name is Victor Salas. I'm a representative for Circle K Stores, Inc.
Thank you. And I don't know if you had any other comments or anything on these transfers before we...
I do not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
all right, so I will respectfully ask the approval of these 4 liquor licenses, the transfer of the 4 liquor licenses from 2 Circle K stores.
Okay. Are there any questions regarding this transfer of licenses from the commission?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Allens?
He likes me.
this is a wholesale transfer of liquor licenses. Do you know the reason why?
I do not. I mean, I could speculate considering the changes in the liquor license laws in the last year, but I do not, and the accompanying documentation does not include it. Seems like a business decision to move out of that particular area for those particular businesses. But again, that's speculation, Commissioner.
Why are we transferring 4 licenses as a single item instead of 4 licenses as 4 separate items?
I don't know if there's a procedural process that requires them singly.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that it's because it's common ownership and common purchaser.
Thank you, Mr. Macias.
So it's just 3 different licenses in 3 different locations being transferred from one company to another company. So it all falls appropriately within just one transaction.
I mean, I have no objection to doing it this way. It's just, this is the first time I've seen it, either as clerk or as commissioner.
Chair Sanchez, Commissioner Ellens, this is the first time I've been involved in a multiple license transfer. So frankly, I wouldn't know the difference, but I of course defer to your experience and expertise.
I'll go with it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Allens. Are there any other questions? Okay. If I can get a motion and a second of approval?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Chaparral, seconded by Vice Chair Murillo. Are there any members of the public that are here to comment? Okay. Seeing none, if there's no other comment, then Brandy, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Ellens?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparral?
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo?
Yes.
Chair Sanchez?
Yes.
Thank you, Commission.
Okay. Agenda item number 18 is correspondence. Brandy, are there any correspondence?
Yes, we do have 3. Frank Flores versus Doña Ana County. Jose M. Castañeda versus Doña Ana County. Raymond Mills versus Doña Ana County.
Thank you, Brandy. Okay, we've reached the end of our agenda, so if there are no objections, we'll call this meeting adjourned at 10:55 a.m.